Hey gamers, today, particle effects, last lesson, let's go. All right, so we are going to be adding some particle effects to our enemies. We're going to be creating some smoke. Okay, so you can, depending on which sort of project assets you're working with, this is going to sort of determine which assets you use. So I'm going to go ahead and do the VFX for Ruby. The VFX folder for Ruby and Ducko are essentially the same for the smoke. The only sort of different one is going to be the Sugarland VFX, but Ruby and Ducko have the same kind of like a sprite sheet. So first thing we're going to do is I got to quickly just undo what I did for my test thing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go here to where it says here like particle sprite atlas, and we're going to go to where it says this is something we're going to do a lot of for our projects. Sprite mode we're going to set to multiple, and then this is going to be something that they'll come up later on where it says mesh type. Default is tight. You want to do full rect. Okay, so that is going to deal with. We're going to be basically having these like sprites being used with our particle system, so it looks like smoke is coming out of our enemy. So let's click on apply. The other thing we're going to do now is go to our sprite editor. We're going to go to slice. The type we're going to set to by grid by cell count, and we're going to set 4 by 4. Okay, cool. Click on apply. That is going to enable us, you look at it, that is sliced up our sprite atlas into a bunch of different kind of sprites that we're going to be using these two frames to basically make it so that the smoke looks cool. Okay, so now we can start actually doing the particle effects. So we go ahead here, let's go to just do a right click. We're going to go here to effects and then particle system. All right, so initially this is sort of like you look at it like these are just sort of like placeholder things. We're going to go ahead and change it up. So, and there's just a ton of different like kind of like modules that we need to work with. So let's go ahead. We're going to be enabling the texture sheet animation. So we're going to go ahead and click on the checkbox here. We're going to expand this. So like get used to this. We're going to be doing this a lot. Where it says mode, we're going to select instead of grid, we're going to go to sprites. I'm also going to click on the stop button. So it's like just super distracting. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on this plus button because we have two different sprites that we're going to do. So we can click and drag, put those guys in, or you could search for them manually by clicking on the kind of the little circle that's next to the plus button. Okay, so we now have, if you look at, we can play those effects. Unfortunately, we're only sort of grabbing that first sprite. So now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce some randomness. We want to go ahead and have it pick from these two, and we're going to be doing a ton of stuff related to changing up our like the size of it. We want to have it so that like eventually it fades away. We want to make the smoke look more smoke like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to where it says start frame. Okay, so where it says start frame, we're going to click on this tab here, random between, get used to this. We're going to set it so that we want it to be between 0 and 2 exclusive. Okay, and it is supposed to, in terms of where it says like 1.998, that is okay. All right. We're going to go ahead then to the frame over time box. Okay. We want to go ahead and we want to delete the keyframe of this. So if we go ahead here where it says like frame over time, we have that selected. Okay. We're going to go ahead, we're going to right click at the bottom here. And we're going to go here where it says we're going to select delete key. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and start the shape. Okay, so right now, if we look at that particle thing, like that's a huge sort of swath that stuff's going to go with. So we're going to change the shape. So we're going to go to the particle system component at the very top, and then we are going to work where it says sorry, no, we're going to go to the shape module, which is here, and where it says shape, we're going to keep it as a cone. Okay, but we're going to change the radius so that all the sort of like it's going to be coming from a central point. So radius we're going to set to 0, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change the angle to 5, And again, we're just sort of making so that the smoke is a bit smaller. Now we're going to go ahead to the main module, which is going to be there. This is now here where we got here. So this is going to be the same sort of thing where we want to do our start lifetime going to be related to, and this is sort of like how random, how smoke kind of is sort of random, or it says start lifetime. We're going to go ahead here, random between two constants, and then we're going to set here the random between constants is going to be a lower value of 1.5 and then an upper range of 3. We're going to do the same thing for start speed and start size. So our start size, let's go here to random between two constants. Start size, we're going to set to 0.5 and 1. We'll keep that there. And then the other one is going to be the start speed. So random between two constants, start speed. We want to say 0.3 because smoke is, we don't want to have it just like going too wild. So 0.3 and 0.5. Okay. Start size. Oh, start size should be 0.3 and 0.5. And then start speed, I meant to put as 0.5 and 1. Okay, cool. Cool. So, and again, like these values, you can kind of play with them. So, like right now, that's what we have. There's kind of like no right or wrong answer to this. Okay, this is just sort of like one way to solve like to create an effect. You can, now that sort of you have this as a basis, you can think about different applications of this. The other thing we're going to do though is just to simulate the idea of the smoke kind of fading out. We want to go ahead and make it so that eventually, instead of just doing right now it's doing an abrupt kind of like it just disappears at the end. We want to make it so that it slowly fades out to kind of mimic how like smoke sort of dissipates. So we're going to go ahead to, and we're going to find the color over lifetime. Okay, so we'll expand that, click on that, and then we want to go ahead and open this up. On the far right, we are going to go ahead and we're going to click on this button here. And then where it says alpha, we want to set that to 0. The idea here then is that we are, you see how it's kind of like fading out, it's going transparent. The idea is it's slowly fading out into non-existence. Okay, the other thing we'll do is we're going to change the size of it. So let's go ahead to where it says size over lifetime. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to just pause this a second here. We're going to set it so right now the size is kind of like it's growing. It looks like we're going to set it so that they're going to shrink. So we're going to use this preset here. You can make some adjustments in terms of like how this is a kind of a gradual slope. You can make some adjustments if you'd like, but that's just one way to do it. So you go here to pause. Okay. And there we go. So now the only thing we got to do is we got to add this to our enemy. Okay. Um, One thing that you can think about though is like kind of like the location of this. Okay. So when it comes to the and this is going to be something that we're going to play around with when I put this on the enemy. You can think about it. I've sort of gone two different ways. It's like, do you want the kind of the smoke to be on top of the enemy or kind of like have it like kind of like trailing him? I'll show you kind of what that looks like. But the key thing is going to be here is in the renderer. And that's going to be related to to the sorting. So if you look here, like order and layer, right now it's set to 0. So when you attach it to the enemy, it's gonna, well, you'll see. Okay, so now I'm gonna just name this. We'll call this like lesson. I would call yours smoke. I'm just gonna call mine lesson smoke because I already have one that exists. I'm gonna put this as a prefab now. So I'm gonna go to my prefabs and you see here there's the what I did in the test lesson. I'm gonna just bring in here lesson smoke. Okay, I'm gonna delete the smoke that's in the that we just created together. I'm gonna go to my enemy. I'm gonna set the lesson smoke as a child object. And then I'm going to go ahead and just move it to an appropriate spot. Okay. All right. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure with the position on the Z axis, I'm going to set that to 1. Okay. And now this is kind of like where we're gonna get into the spot as far as, like, if when we play this now. So that's one way to do it, okay? If you go to lesson smoke though, and let's go back to that renderer, and then we set here the order and layer, we can set this to 1, okay? That's good, and then you can also change the position of it as well. See how it's kind of on top, like, you can sort of play with that in terms of the top. You can also change it to, where's the one too where it said here, like, sorting fudge. Let's just check what we're at here in terms of order and layer. Yeah, okay. So again, you can do some things related to, like, how you want the smoke to come out. You can change the location of it. Like, there's no right or wrong answer here, in terms of, like, how you do the like, do this. Okay. So I have it like, like, you can set it so that it's on top. You can set it so it's, like, kind of behind it. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. All right. That's it. Final lesson. I wish you the best of luck. Great stuff.